Hello and welcome to the podcast, and this episode is going to be an absolute cracker because my guest for this show here is going to be Andy Lang. Now, here's the best part. We just get chatting right before this and I'm like, I wish we were recording, because what I love about our conversation there is his whole journey and how he got started. And like any podcast, I love to get to know about people's background prior to coming along and getting involved in property as such. And again, we're going to get into it. I'm going to have to ask some questions to get that back out of you, Andy, as well, and talk about some of the deals he's been working on and his background and everything else. And my hope with these podcasts is to inspire you. And if you've been watching any of these, again, it's listening to the person and their whole journey. So first and foremost, Andy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good stuff. So first and foremost, take us back to the younger days, you know, the younger Andy, pre getting involved in property as such. I know you've got a background in construction, so maybe talk about your kind of upbringing and moving into that before taking that step into all things property related.
Yeah, so I probably started with humble beginnings. I grew up in Ballanark up till I was about 5 or 6, moved down into, meant to be somewhere better, down into Shettleston. Growing up, probably things weren't as easy. My dad was self-employed as well, so from a kind of early age, I got an understanding, when business is good, it's good. It tends to be when it's bad, it's almost wiped me out the game.
Yeah.
So I seen that pretty early on, but it's probably sparked something on within me pretty young as well. So it was good to kind of be in amongst that environment. I was brought up with a good work ethic. Any time I didn't do well in school, my dad used to take me back to the bad areas and say, "Is this where you want to end up?" I said, "No, really." And he'll buck up your ideas, So gentle parenting maybe wasn't the way forward with him, but it's shaped me to be kind of who I am now. So forever thankful for that. So I kind of went on to an engineering background once I'd left school. Studied in college, went on to uni, failed uni, went back to college again, picked up on that and went into a project management side. And from there kind of took off into the construction industry and then naturally went into property. I think most people kind of do in that industry, whether you're a joiner, plumber or even higher management. So
Yeah, I mean, there's so many trades, project managers, engineers, every trade you can imagine. And I think it's just that appeal, isn't it? That when you're out there doing work for others and seeing that you're doing all the graft and the developer's making all the money, it gets you to start thinking, well, what if I can also be the developer too? And I guess that was maybe on your mind.
absolutely. I mean, some of the jobs we were doing were pretty in-depth commercial fit-outs, and I was seeing all the numbers coming in. I was looking at these and asking for a wage rise and going, no, we've not got the budget this year. And I'm going, well, you do. I've just brought in 40% profit margins on like a £10 million job. You 100% do. They forget that I can see all the overheads that come along with it.
Yeah.
So that really, I suppose it does kind of puts you in the back foot a little. You almost become, well, I did anyway. It's something I have obviously grew on. I became quite standoffish in my employer, like when I was employed, because it was that way where I was like, well, why am I doing this for you? And you can't give me the smallest thing back in return. Asking for something simple like a small wage rise, especially first job out of uni. So you're right, and it pushed me straight into thinking I can't do this for the rest of my days. I was only 23, 24 when I first started kind of thinking I'm going to go and do this myself. So that was when I stumbled across Protege, and that was 4 or 5 years ago.
So we were having this chat just prior to the podcast starting, and I never knew about this, and I think it'd be good to talk about it because it's the perfect definition of someone who's just resilient and having that whatever it takes mentality to make it happen. So correct me if I'm wrong here because I'm taking your story, but I never knew this. So many people who end up coming on and working with us, going through Property Protege, which is our 12-month mentorship program. It gives you everything you could possibly need to get started on your property journey with that support system and everything else. But most people will either read my book, maybe watch some of the stuff on social media, or come along to a 2-day property jumpstart event, which is really tailored to those people who are looking to get started on their property journey. Maybe they've already got some properties but looking to take it to the next level. And you came to tell me the story. You came to like 4 of them before you then took that step to Protege.
It must have been a good 3 or 4 jump starts. And the first time I came, I went with my wife, and it was in Glasgow. And, well, my girlfriend at the time, and I always remember you saying, like, remember, the idea isn't to do this with your own money. And I pondered on it for like 2 weeks after that, like on my lunch breaks during work and everything. I thought, not with my own money. I thought, I'm going to go back to a jumpstart again. I'm going to try and, like, there's people there that have turned up thinking they're going to use their own money, so I'm going to go and find them. So I then went back about another, like 3 or 4 times in total, try to, network in between the quick coffee breaks and stuff, and find investors. And my idea was, if I find one of these, there'll be somebody that's already been through Protege. I can go to them and say, I've got an investor, let's find them a deal, and then that'll pay for me to get on Protege. So
yeah,
that was kind of where it went.
I love that you got resourceful, because it's remarkable how many people who maybe come to a jumpstart and will have that instantly closed mindset of, I don't have the resources. It's like my own personal story as well. This is why I love it so much, right? Because my own personal story for me in the early days is just not having money.
Yeah.
So I had to get resourceful. I had to try and partner with people and find them deals and everything else. So I knew I wanted to be involved in property, and I wasn't going to let the fact that I never had money be the thing that stopped me from taking that next steps. And, and the crazy thing for me back then, and it wasn't to invest in property education as such, because there wasn't that around at the time. In fact, there was an American company, the only company that I knew, and they were like £40,000 to go and do a program back then, which was just not even, couldn't even consider it, right? It wasn't just way out my thought process. So back then I was like, okay, well, I need to get some personal development. So I did what I had to do for me. So I put my personal development training to the likes of Tony Robbins, Harv Eker, Chris Howard, these different people to work on me, on my personal growth and my mindset, on credit cards, personal loans, increasing my overdrafts. It's what I did. And for me, it seemed like a gamble back then, because I had no idea what the payoff would be.
Yeah.
Now, the payoff equals to what I have in my life right now, which is like astronomical, because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those mindset shifts.
Yep.
Because it was those mindset shifts that then got me to realize that I'm capable of so much more.
Yeah.
That I can get resourceful to get results.
Yes.
And if I just persist at it, it will happen. And I took that into my property journey to eventually get results. So that's kind of what you did. It wasn't like many people will just leave, go, I can't do it, and that's it, and they'll never ever think about it again.
Oh, I mean, there was plenty of people I connected with at Jumpstart, and it was like, I'm never paying that. And I was like, so you're not going to pay that for what, to be pretty much financially free, like, for the rest of your days? You don't need to answer to somebody. You don't need to work for somebody. Like, I couldn't understand that, because I was like, that's the value in it alone, and then everything else you get with it. So yeah, and like you were saying, like credit cards and loans, I mean, no doubt my mum and dad's going to watch this, and if I ever told anybody how much I'd spent on stuff like that, I used to get told all the time, like even off of some friends and stuff, like, oh, you've got wee toy cars in your head, you're like you're fully it and all the rest of it. And I was like, well, do you know what, worst comes to worst, it doesn't work, and I've still got the knowledge, I've not lost it. Fair enough, I might need to start from ground zero again, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing doesn't scare me. And I think that's probably a continuing stumbling block for a lot of people. It's the fear of that kind of failure. Whereas investing in something, like an education, and even not as maybe putting it on a credit card or whatever it may be, or in my case, I borrowed it off mum and dad, which I've technically not paid them back for yet, if I'm honest. Although I have built them a portfolio, so it's not that bad, but I don't think they'll ever let me away. You've still not repaid us for your Protege yet, so, it is what it is. I think everybody's got the right mentality, and until it has to come parting with that money.
Yeah.
And it's that wee thing in the back of your mind, and it's that doubt that starts to niggle away. And as soon as you get past that, there's literally nothing holding you back. It's astronomical what it can do.
Yeah, and we'll get into that, because I really want to listen to your journey and what you've done over the last number of years and where you're at just now, which is exciting. But for me, I and you don't get this when you're, I guess, growing up as such. You don't understand the best investment that anyone will ever make is investment in themselves.
Yeah.
Because we're so conditioned, maybe here in Scotland, it's free education as such.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we take it for granted. Of course, if it's down in England, you've got to pay for that education, which is very different and
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't get taken for granted as such. And when you are taking things for granted and it's just stuff that you have, my experience is that you don't give it your all. And that's why for me it's a crazy stat that over 85%, this is UK wide, even with people in England who pay for their education, right? 85% of people who end up getting a degree end up going pursuing a career in something that's unrelated to it. Because most people don't even know what they want to get out of life.
No.
And when you're going through the schooling system and your peer group, especially your loving parents,
Yep.
right, who are pushing you down to get good grades, get yourself a good job. And that was me. I was forced into, and I mean forced, it's like, get yourself into computers, get yourself into IT. That's where you're going to make your fortunes.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when I got my IT degree, and it's like, okay, just you can get a job and the whole work your way up the corporate ladder, get those promotions. And for me, similar to your own story, I'm like, I don't want to be working here.
No.
Doing this for everybody else. I want to be doing, So it's great that you started to see that for yourself, and you made the best investment that you could ever make in yourself is in your own education.
Yeah.
And providing that you then go and apply what you learn. It's just like investing in property. What do you want? You want a return on your investment. So by investing in your education, getting a return on your education has led you to running your own business, launching an exciting business, which we'll get into as of late, and building a portfolio for your parents, right? Giving them something in return, and doing some other stuff. So, first and foremost, what was your experience coming along to Protege, and then off the back of that, what was your strategy and your kind of first deal?
So, the first time that I attended Protege, because I've been on it 4 or 5 times now, and every time you come back, you pick up something else. I'd argue there's too much information that you will forget things, or you just won't pick it up because you're too busy writing something down and somebody else is speaking or whatever it may be, which is obviously the benefit of having access to everything for 12 months as well. So, I was only on like 18, 19 grand, managing 10 million plus projects in value. And it just has to make you think, and as soon as I came on Protege, it opened my eyes, like, so I can go and source deals. On average, we were doing like maybe 3-4 deals a month at an average of about 5 grand each. You get your project management side and stuff like that as well. So the value that you can get from it, and it's just a quick change in your mindset on how you're going to start thinking about things. And you go, it's so simple in certain aspects, but you would never have realised in case you actually came in the course.
Yeah.
So it's changed my life forever. I think if I was on 18, 19 grand a year now, I'd be petrified. So it's done wonders for my life,
Yeah.
It's gave not just obviously myself, my wife is hardworking, but it's gave us, a lovely home. We drive nice cars, we go nice holidays. It's changed our life for the better.
I'll end up seeing you in Glen Eagles as well, Great
See
place
you
to
next
hang
week.
out.
Yeah, we're Advent up there, so it's it's allowed us to. It's crazy what a bit of education can do, because it's created breathing space in our life, which I think, like, even when you were saying people struggle with 85% go and choose something different in what they've studied, I think having that element to then being able to choose, and it comes from having the freedom, then the course is worth it on its own for that. I enjoy construction. I didn't enjoy the job I was in, and that's the key thing. For a very small sacrifice in the grand scheme of things. Aye.
Yeah, design and build the life that you want. You did the work. So your earliest strategies when you left Protege was deal sourcing.
Yeah.
Because of your situation, I guess.
Yeah.
Having not a lot of money to get started, which is a phenomenal strategy for anyone. It's how I got started. It's how I encourage anyone who doesn't have the capital. Of course, you can joint venture, you can raise funds, you can do all the stuff that we teach at Proteges, but it's very simple and straightforward to go and source the deals. And if you know how to structure them, you're making upwards of 5K. And of course, with that project management experience you've got, you're able to then utilize that in your own business to even make more money.
Yep.
Because you're probably making, well, you are making a lot more money than you would have been if you were employed.
Oh, easily, like tenfold at least, you know, and obviously the rest, that's just what you're taking home.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, the reason I started on like the deal trading aspect, well, I done it before I even done Protege, obviously so I could get to go on Protege, is if you utilise your network around you, most people fail to realise they've probably already got a reasonable network, whether that's being known in their local area and going to the local estate agent. That was how I got my first deal when I traded on, and it was just through connecting with somebody. You know, I kind of stayed down the east end of Glasgow, so it was going to one of the local agents down there. I've got a buyer looking, didn't have a buyer yet. You know, can you introduce me to any flats, you know, ones that maybe need work done or whatever it might be. And I got a wee 2-bed flat for the first one I ever sold on, and then I actually sold it on to somebody within the group.
Yeah.
It made its way back, and I think that was only like 10 weeks, maybe 11 weeks in a Protege, and I'd done my first deal. Probably should have paid my mum and dad back then. But, you know, so like in that aspect, it's great. We then went on and I pursued deal trading pretty aggressively, and you know, got a good success. COVID stumped it, obviously. We couldn't buy, sell, etc. And I kind of came away from it at that point, but we were doing on average probably four or 5 deals maybe a month. I think my best kind of record to month was like 39 grand or something in sourcing deals, which is crazy when you think about it. It's like double what I was making a year before it. So yeah, that's a great strategy. I mean, I still do it. Like, I've just sourced another one within the group as well. I don't actively go after deal trading anymore, but you know, if something comes across my desk, it is literally quick money, and that's the thing. Why would you not do it?
Yeah, it's one of those strategies that I always recommend, like I've mentioned there, is that if you're just starting out, you don't have the capital, use that to start building your own capital, bring in cash flow. You know, it can change someone's financial circumstances relatively quickly. Like well within 12 months, comfortably, if you put the time and effort in, inside of 6 months.
Oh, easily.
You know, you're just saying you did it inside of 11 weeks. So it just shows you how quick it can be if you've got that motivation, that desire, that drive to put in the work and getting those results. And I guess transitioning from that, you've started to get involved in other projects. And
Yeah. I mean, we picked up, along the way, we're doing the deal trading, we picked up a lot of assisted sales.
Yeah.
You know, one of my first projects myself that I'd done was an assisted sale with somebody in the group in a flat in Paisley. So that was a good one. I think we made a quick maybe 25-30k off of that one. I've then done my own buy-to-lets, buy-to-flips. One of the last ones we've just done an assisted sale through in Livingston. That was we only got about 35k profit out of that. The interest rates stumped us. We did originally have an offer in at 515. It was a big 5-bed detached house and a golf course. It was stunning. And we originally had an offer, it was like 510, 515 or whatever it was. It was set to make us like 80, 90k profit. And we're like, oh, this is great. Interest rates on the Monday through the roof. And we're like, yeah, okay. But it kind of went back to that. We had the foundations to structure the deal. So we knew, regardless, even if we were selling it as, you know, home report value, you were still making a good 30, 35. So you weren't hard done by any means.
Yeah.
You know, we've got another one kicking off again in the east end of Glasgow with 2 beds. You know, just through the negotiation tactics that each year, we've got it at like 60k and it's worth 110 or something. So, you know, it's deals to be had.
Yeah. No, I just love it that how you're being that proactive and going out there and looking for the deals, collaborating with a lot of people within the community as well. And just with your background, and so project management is a skill set in itself. You know, it can make or break a deal.
Yep.
And I guess from your point of view and understanding that, it just gives you a lot more cost certainty around your due diligence and knowing all your numbers. Do you see that as an asset with the deals you've been doing to make sure you get your profits?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you think about it, it takes maybe 4-6 weeks to buy a property, but then you need to hold that for another 6 months. So the longest part probably that property journey is the section between you buying it and refurbing it and the refinance, but yet it's potentially the one that people don't pay enough attention to. You know, they'll drum into the due diligence, they'll get the numbers. It doesn't matter how much they get taught. It's like, I'll phone my joiner, I'll phone my builder. It's like, there's a lot of things in properties that can go missed that can really break the deal. You know, one of the ones that we had in Ballanor can, because of the kind of skill set that I've managed to gain over the years, I knew I was walking into probably about 10k worth of repairs before I had to fix anything else you could see in the surface. And a lot of people shied away from it for that reason, but it allowed me to negotiate it. And, you know, it's through those sort of negotiation tactics, you're not going to get a mortgage on this, so I'll buy it cash sort of idea. And that's what got us it, you know. We probably on average for a full fit out on a property about kind of 10 to 12 weeks, which is pretty good going. The reason we don't push it further than that is I'm quite big on quality. Spec is a big thing for me. I'm big on pushing higher quality homes out into the market as opposed to let's get this a lick of paint and kind of be done by. And the reason I do that is I pay kind of close attention to the legislation that's coming in off the back end. I always say it's like it trickles down the way. If it's hitting a housing association, it's going to hit a landlord next. So I take elements from what I see happening to big organisations and go, this is going to eventually come to us, and start to implement those things into my refurbs. And that's where myself, and at the time he was my joiner, my builder, Gary McAllister, me and him kind of get started talking, and I think he enjoyed how I looked at projects and how I went about projects. I enjoyed his workmanship and stuff, and we ended up creating the Property Refurb Academy, which has been a great success so far. You know, we're showing people how to manage refurbs, price refurbs, the tools of the trade, kind of things to look out for, taking them through really every aspect from, right, you've now got the keys in your hand, or maybe even beforehand, you know, how to strategise and go into a property with a viewing, because the amount of times you know yourself, you get sent a WhatsApp and it's like, I've got a deal, you go, send me the details, and it's like all these photos and it's a riot, and you think, it's not the best looking. So we've set up systems and procedures to give them a strategy for going into the viewing, and then all the way through for managing their trades, kind of pricing it, pretty much everything. So and it ties in nicely with the deal trading, because we show them how to package it up in a nice way. And I think as well, and you'll know that we've been in industry, when everybody's playing at the same level, the second you can kind of take yourself just a smidge above that and position yourself a wee bit better, you become more appealing in the eyes of an investor. It's like, well, they're going above and beyond. They're keeping a close eye on market trends. Their brochures, more appealing for the way they're giving us the properties, a whole bunch of things. So
how you present yourself is incredibly important. It really is. And what I love about some of the things you just mentioned there, especially when many investors who have maybe not done the right due diligence, especially when it comes to the refurb, and they've mispriced it, they go and buy a property and they realise, oh my God, the refurb's significantly more. So what do they tend to do is they reduce their spec. Their quality of work is not as great. It takes them much longer to renovate, because now you're dealing with builders who will just, come and do it as and when they can to try and keep costs down and everything else. And then the knock-on effect of that is when it does go on the market, you'll be lucky if you get market value. You might not even get what you thought you were going to get, because you've not done your due diligence in the first place. You haven't factored in the specifications required and everything else. And that's why a project management skill set is incredibly important. And with what you said there, the attention to the detail in terms of the right specification, the quality, the time it takes you to turn around to make sure you can produce that, the opposite effect happens, because you don't get what you estimate in terms of the end market value. You get that premium that sometimes could be 10, 15, in some cases 20% over market value. because you're getting that benefit of someone that goes to look to buy that property, and they can see the workmanship, the quality, the specifications, and the most important things like the kitchen, the bathroom, and how it's been done. They can see that there's been quality workmanship. It's clear that it's been put together by someone who's a project manager who knows this game, how to work all the trades, and you get that trade-off for it.
Yeah.
So it's a phenomenal skill set.
I think everybody's got a harsh habit of, and to an extent rightfully so, removing the emotion when looking at a property. And I agree with that as a numbers game. But at the same principle, it's people going to stay in the property at the other end. And, like one of the properties we done in Ballanark, we got told the end value for that was only like 135 to 145. And it came back at 185.
Wow.
Just based off the spec, and it's things like that. We probably spent about an extra 10, 15 grand on it than anybody else would even consider doing it, but the property's now at a standard where I push the end value 40 grand more, and then I know the clientele that it's going to attract as well. So, I've got a tenant who used to rent office in Glasgow. He's moved to Aberdeen and he's moving back with a family incident, and I know that he's specifically looking for one of your properties because we do things like we supply CCTV and alarms. So to me, I wouldn't look at a house unless it had that, but that's just me. And I just take the sort of wee things like that and go, well, if that's what I'm looking for, there's somebody else that is, and they'll pay a premium for it. And, on average, we do get more on our rentals than anybody else. And it is because we go a bit over the top with the spec, but,
But it makes such a difference. It's just what you said there. It doesn't take you much to just literally just raise the bar slightly more to stand out.
Yeah, well, why would you not protect your investment? That's how I see it. It's like I can go in here and spend 15 grand and get it to a lettable standard, and that's probably just. Or I can go in here and spend 25, 30 and I don't need to spend realistically much money on it in the next 25 years. And to me, I go, well, that makes sense to me.
And you're not even overspending though, because you're still adding that value. You're increasing the value of the property.
Yeah, well, because of the stuff I've learnt, it's the right price to buy, and it's one of those ones. It's like I'm not going to go and add something to my portfolio, because somebody that maybe hasn't been through the right trainings tell me I can get a kitchen, bathroom, a rewire and fully plastered for 15 grand. It's like, no, it's all right. I'll do my own kind of due diligence and my own numbers on it. I'm not going to take it just for the sake of it. I would rather keep my portfolio at like a higher quality, so we only buy terraced or semis. We get rid of all the flats. We tend to put the 4 bedrooms onto repayments, and the larger 3 beds we keep on repayments as well, and the rest put on interest only. Same again, it's not something that a lot of people do. I do it because I see it in easy. It's for my retirement. So it's a higher quality asset, and when it comes to pay off, I know that those are the properties that are going to get the highest capital gains.
Yeah.
So to me, that makes sense. And it's same again, protect my asset. It's got good tenants in it. Never miss. No brainer.
Good stuff. And you also mentioned your partnership with Gary McAllister. Gary's also been on the podcast as well, and I'm sure I'll get him back out. And what I love about Gary is just his workmanship, the quality that he does, and the amount of people he's worked with within the community, the Protege tribe as well, and they always rave about him.
Aye.
And you guys got together with the Property Refurb Academy. So tell us a bit more about that. I know you mentioned how you support and help other people, but it's not just helping people in terms of understanding the refurb, how to project manage it, all the numbers. You have other elements to that as well, which helps a lot of people upskill themselves inside the whole trade.
Oh, absolutely. We pretty much show them how to position themselves as almost a construction business. We give them the elements of ongoing support for 12 months, so they can come to me and Gary for any issues that they might run into or anything that they're not sure on. We give them the contracts that are all ready, templates ready for them to go, project management ones for their trades, stops anybody getting their fingers burnt. I'm sure most people have been there, they've asked a joiner, they've gave them half up front and you see them disappearing into the sunset. The stuff that we teach is all came from stuff that we've learned the harsh realities from. So it's put them in a good stead, a good first position. For most people, I think the numbers is the scariest part, and I think it's that idea that's to come into a course and it's like you're on your own, you know, and it's the same as well if it was like the protege side. If there wasn't that ongoing support, you'd be like, not too keen on that.
Yeah.
We've got the 12 months ongoing support along with we've got the pricing calculator. We do monthly Zoom calls and stuff. We kind of cover all the bases and making sure that people are comfortable with it. We've got guest speakers, access to our trades guys and personally as well. So that, you know, the prices that we teach the guys, they can go into our Refurb toolbox, which kind of our system with all the content and stuff. They can go in there and request a quote from the plumber because they've got a job. So it's not as if they're literally being left on their own. They've actually got access to all the guys that we use day in, day out.
Yeah.
And that alone, you're like, right, okay.
No, that's great. And then you also help people like those who want to become kitchen fitters, those who want to learn about painting, decorating, plastering. You take it to that next stage as well.
So we've got the practical side, so kitchen fitting, specialist worktop fitting, like stone worktops and stuff, all the way down to skirtings, doors, plastering, tiling. You know, we kind of cover all the basics. So it's good for, well, we've had good feedback from, you know, people that might have a painter decorator they're using their projects, project in, project out, and they're wanting to upskill them on spray plastering. You know, the same again, they might not be directly employed by you, but they're a part of your team. So you invested in yourself, why would you not invest in your team as well? So we've had good feedback from that, and it is same again, there's 12 months ongoing support, there's a whole bunch of options that kind of bolt onto it. So yeah, and we kind of look at options with the job centre and stuff, trying to upscale.
I was just about to get into that because you've got that whole social conscious there as well, in the sense of helping those people who need it the most, and maybe you can touch a little bit on that too.
Yeah. So it was something that I spoke to Gary about, and thankfully he was on the same page as me, and kind of said to him like, this is my non-negotiable. We're helping people, sort of thing. And I think the reason being is because when I was growing up, my mum and dad didn't have massive amount of money. You know, they gave me an option pretty early on. They said we can stay where we are, or we can move to somewhere nicer, but it means everything else that we've got kind of goes. Being young, I was like, well, I would like to stay somewhere nice, so we did. And I think seeing the hardships that came along with it, and I thought, you know, just because somebody's ended up in a position, they're in the job centre or whatever, it doesn't mean they're bad, or you've made a wrong choice maybe somewhere along the lines, or whatever it might be. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be helping them to an extent, you know, and trying to tie them in with local contractors or whatever it might be. We're going to the job centre and saying we can take, you know, whoever it might be, upskill them and then put them into employment. We've already got a job lined up for them at the other end. Yeah. So that was like our man non-negotiable, which Gary was on the same line straight away anyway. He'd already thought about it, which was great as well, so it made it far easier. And it's something that we're looking forward to, pushing forward.
What I love about that whole side of things as well is because everything that happened with the housing market through 2008, 9, 10, 11, you know, many big house builders went out of business, a lot of construction slowed down. Then we've got Brexit, which stopped a lot of European trades that we had a lot of that were operating and doing great quality work here in the UK. And now you fast forward to 2024, massive housing shortage, not building enough homes, and we don't have enough good trades.
Yeah.
And many construction companies, they're having to take on all sorts of different people who don't have a skill set, and they're not putting them through any coach or training. Maybe they're just putting them into, right, you're on this job, you're going to shadow someone else who's a bit more experienced. Yep. And my experience is those people don't want to have people shadowing them and everything else, you know?
They're the most reluctant to show anybody their tricks of the trade.
Exactly. It's a very interesting marketplace in itself. But it's good that you guys, with what you have put together with Property Refurb Academy, helping investors, but more importantly, helping those trades and take them through that education process that will actually make them more desirable in the workplace. Yeah,
absolutely. You know? I mean, I seen a scary statistic. I don't know how factual it is, but it was like for every 9 tradesmen that retire, there's only 1 person coming back into the industry.
Wild.
That's mad.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Like, I was only last week I seen that. I don't know how factual it is, but it's if that is the case, that's crazy numbers, you know. And to be fair, a lot of the trades guys we've got, luckily, they're young and they're keen. But there is quite a few of the old buddies that are disappearing, and they've got their skill set you can't pay for.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the ones, and they're disappearing. So there has to be, I think, not we're doing our part as a company sociably, but I think there has to be an element of change in amongst it where it has to be recognised that we're going to have to upskill
Yeah.
people along the way. You know, one of the ones that I'm big on is on my target. So the way I like to do my goals is I set 5 out, and those are my semi-realistic ones, and I break them down into 25 kind of baby steps. It gives you something to tick off as I kind of go along. But I always have a 6th goal. It's like something that you're not really meant to get anywhere near. And mine's is solving homelessness in Scotland. But it's kind of came apart over the last year or so, maybe 2 years, that it could be done. And the more I look into like British policies and Scottish policies and speaking to councillors and everything else, and it's trying to tie in that element of the skill shortage in the trade side, along with some of the land developments that we're looking at as well, and try to create a bit of a synergy between them. You know, let's upskill these guys, get them on land or building sites with experienced guys, get them, you know, good foundations, excuse the pun, under their legs, and then, you know, it works for us as a developer, but it also works for us as, you know, the Refurb Academy, and then also the social aspect. So I think just because you're looking at making money off property doesn't mean you need to take away the element of doing good as well, kind of alongside it. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's this, not the viewers or listeners to this, especially not this far into the podcast. I think we all are well aware that we're not taking advantage of anyone, even people that have to sell their home. You're providing a solution and an option. And when you've got other strategies such as an assisted sale, you know, and you've been able to move a lot quicker because of unfortunate situations they're in, or help them get more for the property by doing an assisted sale, or, you know, helping others get their own start in the property and making more profits for themselves, that's going to have a knock-on effect to their life and their family, and being able to help people live in their life in their own terms, you know, and in terms of their own personal development, the growth that they go through, and helping people get the right skill sets, and, you know, so, and that social conscious is something that's incredibly important for every business, you know, and I think the more that you have that, and it's like a big driver for me as well in terms of who I partner with, but more importantly with the whole, for me, focus on financial education for the youth, because I know that future generation, they are the future generation, and if they can understand money, how to manage it well, how to invest it, how to value themselves, how they can show up in the workplace being an entrepreneur, because not everyone has to be an entrepreneur.
No.
And it's having that mindset shift can totally transform someone's life in a completely different pathway, and have a butterfly effect, which has that knock-on effect to other people in their life too.
Absolutely. I mean, the better that you can do personally, me personally, I'm not the type of guy that just keeps it for myself. I'm probably a wee bit too generous in that sense, you know, but I like to take care of my family and friends. And I think that alone, you know, makes it worthwhile for a small sacrifice. And I'm not going to say that it's easy, because it's not. It goes with its hardships, but I've also not had money, and I'd say that's harder than having it, and the stresses that come along with having businesses. You know, it's even things like being able to, my wee sister's studying marketing, and even being able to nurture that with getting her involved in my businesses and things like that, and you go, that's worth it alone, sort of thing. So yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Good stuff. I was going to ask what's the next steps in the future for Andy, but I think I know. I think you've kind of shared and spoke a lot about it, which is most definitely making a big impact. But is there anything else that you maybe want to share before we bring this to a close?
No, I mean, I think for anybody that's kind of doubting their refurb numbers, if they feel that that's the continuous part that's stopping them from progressing, whether it's packaging up in a deal and sourcing it on, or gaining a buy-to-let or buy-to-flip for themselves, I would say come have a chat with us. The mindset shift from how little can I spend to actually how can I do this correctly. And, you know, we've got the case studies that show it.
Yeah.
It's there in fact and proven. So I would say come have a chat with us.
Good stuff. Brilliant. And for people to reach out with you, where would they be able to catch you on social and different web links?
Yeah, just probably the easiest ones like Instagram, Andy Lang Property. You'll find me on LinkedIn and stuff as well, and Facebook. Just reach out.
Good stuff. And as always, I'll put on the show notes the links off to Andy and the websites and everything else, the Property Refurb Academy, so you can check them out as well. And this has been good. This has been great for me, watching your journey over the last, going on almost 5 years. It's an absolute pleasure. Because I still remember everybody from their first time that they walk on to their first Protege event and seeing that evolution and growth to where you are now and where you're going. You know, for me,
I had hair.
It's I know.
I had hair when the first time I came.
Yeah, for me, it's remarkable. Honestly, it's an absolute pleasure to watch and see someone going through that growth and having that impact in their lives as well. So as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. And for you guys, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel too. And if you get any questions, pop it into the comments below and be sure to go in there and respond and answer as well. Until next time, all the best and bye for now.